Guys, I'm delighted to welcome back to the podcast our friend Kirk Cameron. You know him, of course, as the from Growing Pains, but you also know him for terrific films that he's made as a producer. Fireproof, Monumental. The new one, which he's made with the Kendrick brothers, is called Lifemark. It's in theaters September 9th. This is a terrific movie, and I want to talk to Kirk about it. Kirk, you told me just now that you're at the Museum of the Bible. Debbie recently toured the Museum of the Bible. I confess I haven't seen it yet. I'm actually excited to see the Museum of the Bible, but you had a screening of the film there. How was that received?
Well, first of all, the Museum of the Bible is it puts on spectacular display the impact of the Bible, the history of the Bible, little known facts about the Bible. And I'm staying in some of the secret guest suites where they host and some of the scholars. I'm no scholar, but I'm enjoying the suites.
Nice. That's terrific.
And we had our movie premiere here last night, and it was electrifying. It was life-giving. And it was to celebrate the accomplishment of finishing a movie that is rushing into theaters, celebrating the value of life and the beauty of adoption. And this is happening right on the heels of the Supreme Court decision to overturn Roe versus Wade.
I mean, this is almost providential, Kirk, because, when you started the movie, obviously Roe was the law of the land. And right. You might say, well, I'd like to, change hearts and minds. But at some level, what good does it do when you have a legal regime in place that has abortion on demand all over the country? But now we are in a different environment. Essentially, the court has handed this off to the American people. So nothing could be more timely now than a movie that makes the case for life, but does it seems, in a very kind of interesting way. This is actually not an abortion movie per se. Talk a little bit about the storyline of the movie and the way in which it makes the broader point so effectively.
Well, Dinesh, we know as movie makers that often the inspiration to make a documentary or a movie is some sort of monumental event that takes place in the culture. But this was not the case with Lifemark, because we started this in 2019, and it was a movie that was delayed due to the pandemic shutdowns, due to the COVID, crunch that shut everything down in the theaters. But providentially, God has it come out just weeks after the Dobbs decision. So this is a movie that I'm particularly excited about, because not only do we need something that helps us as a nation view this issue, this tender topic of life, of a woman's rights, of bodily autonomy, of Roe versus Wade, we need to look at it through the lens of love and compassion, not only considering the rights of the mother, but everyone included, including the perspective of the innocent human baby and the life ahead of him or her, and including the birth father, which is often neglected in the conversation, as well as the thousands of couples who are longing to start families and have children but are unable to. And Lifemark is a true story about an 18-year-old girl who chooses adoption over abortion. That child is adopted into a loving family. He's raised until he's 19 years old, and he then has a chance to meet his biological mother. She thinks that he probably hates her. And in their meeting, he wraps her up in a loving embrace and says, I love you, thank you, thank you, thank you, and I love my family. And now, Dinesh, in real life, these two people, the biological mother and the son, are traveling around the country, and he's an adoption lawyer helping other families to adopt children into their homes. So
wow.
This is a beautiful story.
So it sounds like I didn't actually know this, that this is not a fictional manuscript that you came up with. You're essentially taking a true life story and you're making a feature film based upon actual people and their actual experience.
Yes, that's right. And their story was held in heaven until this providential moment where people are wondering, how will we ever come together? Will we come together? How do we spark a spirit of revival? Well, here's something that takes it out of the realm of philosophical argument and brings it right down to a place where we can feel the agony of a mother making that difficult choice. We can feel the longing of a couple who wants to have children but cannot. And we can feel the journey of this young man as he discovers the startling beginnings to his life. And we see how God works it all together for good. And so we believe that adoption is the loving choice in the midst of an unplanned pregnancy. And as an adoptive father with 4 adopted children and a wife who is also an adopted child, I am forever grateful for those young moms and dads who chose life for their babies.
I mean, Kirk, whenever I talk to you, I mean, you're such a positive, affirming guy. And I think that also comes through in your films. You know, Lincoln used the phrase, the better angels of our nature. And it seems to me that there's a thread running through your films in which you're always trying to show and bring out the best in people so that some of these divisive and difficult social issues can be overcome really through us finding our best selves. Isn't that really am I right in summarizing the broader perspective that you bring to films?
I ask God in my morning prayers, God, what lane do you want me in? There's so much work that needs to be done, but there's others who shine the light to expose the cockroaches better than I do. There's technicians with the X-ray machinery that can show us what we can't see on the surface.
Kirk, stop. You basically summarized my podcast. It's a cockroach exposing project. I love it. That's what I do. I'm good at that. I call out the cockroaches and swat them down right here on the podcast.
Yes. And I'm seeing the posters of these projects behind you, and I love them, and they educate us. I think what I'm trying to do is something I remember Charles Spurgeon, I believe, saying, if you want to understand how crooked a stick really is, all you have to do is hold it up next to a straight one. Once you see them side by side, it becomes obvious, and you don't even really need to explain it. And so for me, I say, once I understand the problem, how do we get to the cure? What should things look like in our culture? And rather than me trying to argue with people, I am much better at saying, what is God's prescription for this wicked disease of abortion, of devaluing life to where we think we can just throw away a class of people because of their stage of development and use that as an excuse to dismiss their personhood? I mean, that's the kind of stuff that was the basis for eugenics, for the Holocaust, for all sorts of evil things. And yet we're normalizing and celebrating it with tricky language like healthcare and bodily autonomy, which is insanity. So this is a story that simply tells what really happened when a woman chose love in the midst of a difficult situation with an unplanned pregnancy, and we didn't make any of it up. I mean, the story happened on the screen just as it did in real life. And if you're looking for a good movie to see this weekend, please see Lifemark. It's got heart and humor. There's lots of action in it for the guys. There's cliff jumping, skydiving, knife throwing, ATV racing, along with hilarious comedy that'll have you laughing and then crying right next to it as it grabs your heart. It's really a movie that will leave your heart full, and you'll feel inspired to defend and preserve the value of life.
Folks, it's really important. It's actually beneficial to a film to see it right as it comes out. So this weekend, the movie is Lifemark. Check it out from Kirk Cameron. Kirk, thanks very much for joining me.
Thank you, Dinesh. God bless you.